Okay, so today's film is super personal to me. Way back when I was like 6 or 7 years old, I was living in borderline poverty conditions in Pensacola, Florida, with a single mom who worked full time. The times were tough, but I had one thing going for me: the video rental store. Now, my mom, being a full-time nurse, often left me with the TV to guide me through life, and she even bought me a few tapes. One of those was RoboCop, which is neither here nor there, just something I like to bring up anytime my mom asks me why my movies are so fucked up. Anyway, I also saw Aliens, although I can't quite recall if it was a rental or one I owned. Either way, it was permanently ingrained in my consciousness, and all I wanted to do was watch another Alien movie. During a trip to the local video rental store, I took a look along the sci-fi section under A, found Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, which I, by the way, didn't want to watch at all at the time because of the bald Sigourney Weaver on the cover. Child logic. So I looked next to those seminal films, and Alien 3, and I found something. For the longest time, like literally decades, I didn't know what movie it was that I picked out, just that it had to have the word alien in the title, on account of that's how my dumbass child brain decided it was a part of the franchise. I picked this thing, my mom happily pays the rental fee, bless her, and we're off to the races. That night, I popped this new Alien movie into the VCR, the TV glows its glorious light upon me, and I watch whatever movie this was. At least I started to. See, one thing about child brains is that they don't always operate on flawless logic. I had it instilled in me through, I don't know, America, that nudity and sex were bad, while violence was A-okay. Remember, at this point, my favorite movie was already RoboCop.
Bitches leave.
And my mom, amazing woman by the way, she didn't really have specific rules to what I could watch. Hell, I remember trying to watch Gremlins, and she turned it off, presumably because it had scary monsters in it. To this day, I'm not sure why that film was a hard no, but RoboCop and Aliens were hunky-dory. She'll deny to this day that any of this is true, and you know that's her right. Anyway, I start watching this insane movie. There's aliens who land on Earth in the past and take over human bodies, then wind up back in their ship, which they reemerge from in the 90s and go on a killing spree. Just shooting up everyone they see. It's insane. From there, my memory grows a little hazy, but one of the aliens winds up becoming a prostitute, and she takes a John up to her place, I guess, and she takes off her top. Uh-oh. Nudity. So, being the good son that I damn well was, I hit stop on the VCR, and that was it. We wound up returning the tape without me ever finishing it. And from that point on, this movie, with its Uzis and aliens and naked ladies, stayed in my brain. It festered. Someday, I had to find it. And, long story short, after several attempts over the course of many, many years, I did. I figured it out. I searched all over the place for movies with Alien in the title, with roughly the same plot that I saw way back in my single digits, and one day, it just appeared. The movie was called Alien Space Avenger. And fellas, there's a VHS rip on YouTube.
High concept. For a 4-year-old.
Now, before I dig in here, please be aware that I'm going to spoil the whole damn film. If you want to wait for it to finally show up in a superior format, skip ahead to the rest of the review using the video timestamps. We're going to dig through this whole plot. Anyway, let's dig into Alien Space Avenger.
Get the bitch! Get her!
The film starts off with 4 alien terrorists heading toward Earth, with an intergalactic lawman in hot pursuit. On Earth, it's the 1930s, and we follow 2 couples heading out to see a movie, complete with a bottle of hooch smuggled in this dude's pants. They witness something falling from the sky, and the 2 menfolk, Rex and Derek, go to investigate, discovering the alien terrorist spacecraft in the process.
Rex, there's something alive in there.
The cute little Muppets promptly take over their new human hosts, meaning they ain't making it to the picture show after all. The 2 ladyfolk, Doris and Karen, are promptly taken over as well. Now in their human disguises, the aliens must find plutonium for their ship so they can escape. And first stop is the movie theater, Go figure, they wound up exactly where their human hosts were headed in the first place. This whole prologue continues with the 4 aliens obtaining some firearms from a local pub, where we get our first dose of bloody action.
You're dead.
Don't worry though. Homeboy can just regrow his blown off arm. Handy trick, and probably surprising for anyone who hadn't seen this before. Up until now, things have been pretty silly, but all of a sudden, we're in full-on gory massacre territory. It's a fun dichotomy. The aliens wind up discovered by the Space Avenger that's been tracking them, and they retreat back to their spacecraft, where they hibernate for 50 freaking years. Awakened by some construction workers, the aliens kill everyone in sight, and after what seems like 80 rounds each, they finally run out of ammo.
Yeah, we need more weapons and ammo. Also a place to hide out.
Well, where?
Somewhere where we can be more inconspicuous.
Needing a place to hide out, they make their way to Greenwich Village. During their initial investigation into the area, Derek mentions to Rex that the newsstand is still carrying the Space Avenger comics that he had been reading back in the 1930s, which begs the question, exactly how much of their host body's personalities and knowledge do they keep? The film actually digs into this, and it makes for an interesting dynamic for the aliens' personalities. I can't say I fully grasped how it worked, as they're simultaneously ignorant enough to try drinking douche water while also retaining the memories necessary to read English and recall a comic book. Anyway, 20 minutes in, we finally meet our hero Matt, an illustrator getting his bang on. He stops mid-coitus to work on a new issue of Space Avenger, and dude's got a workaholic problem, not to mention a girlfriend who definitely did not see the MCU coming.
I love you, but you gotta grow up. Comic books are for kids. They have nothing to do with the real world.
This is actually the spot where I figured I must have initially turned the movie off as a child. In my dumb little mind, the hyper-violent shootings were no biggie, but titties? Oh boy, therein lies the path to Satan, my friend. What's interesting is that, in my memory, one of the alien broads is the one having sex after she takes on prostitution, presumably to make some money or fit in or something. Either way, I thought that this was it. This must have been where I stopped in the movie. But it was not.
Stale.
You didn't even read it.
I don't have to.
Matt is having a lot of trouble placating his boss, who's not too happy about the recent sales numbers for Space Avenger. Elsewhere, the aliens wreak havoc. They get new guns from the world's dumbest drug dealers and hit up the nearest nuclear power plant to get themselves some plutonium. Hey, check out this model shot, by the way. There's a lot of ingenuity behind the scenes on this film. As you can see in these photos from a certain director who I may or may not have gotten in touch with.
Don't tell him anything!
These events, plus a brief encounter with the crew at a bar, inspires Matt to create new villains for Space Avenger, which his boss is happy with.
Hey, you!
What?
You want to pay for that stuff?
No. You shouldn't have asked.
Meanwhile, Derek robs a store for food and finds the latest issue of Space Avenger. The aliens see that Matt wrote the comic, and they decide to track him down. One of the alien broads finds him pretty easily and attacks, believing him to be the alien agent sent to track them down.
Are you the agent?
I don't have an agent. I freelance.
However, she lets him live, and afterward we get a better idea of how the human hosts affect the aliens' personalities.
You're a goddamn coward! And you're letting your human host get the best of you!
Meanwhile, the alien lawman creature thingy known as the Agent just so happens to take over Matt's girlfriend, Ginny, who's quick to find Matt. They're both attacked by Derek, whom the Agent burns to death using a homeless dude's liquor. It's incredibly high proof.
Never saw a bottle burn like that before.
Ginny/the Agent explains what's going on to Matt, who somehow has time to draw up a pitch for his editor.
The alien is so drunk, he grows back a hand instead of a foot? That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought so.
The whole timeline really is, it's weird. It's really weird, this timeline. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Eventually, Doris decides she's through with the gang. She just wants some whoopee, you know? While wandering the streets of New York and passing by a perfectly good movie theater, she starts to notice the proliferance of prostitutes. Then, much to my shock and awe, we get the hooker scene. And who should show up as Doris's first hookup than Jamie freaking Gillis?
You remind me of my favorite movie star.
James Garner?
No, Douglas Fairbanks Jr.
You know he's in his 80s? Into the geriatric crowd, huh?
For those of you unaware, Jamie Gillis is pretty much the king of vintage porn actors. Like, fuck John Holmes. It was Jamie Gillis who did The Profession proud, and just so happened to star, or at least feature, in some of the greatest pornographic cinema of all time. Titles like The Opening of Misty Beethoven, Corruption, Barbara Broadcast, and of course, that perennial family favorite, Water Power. So to see him show up here was an absolute thrill. And boy howdy, I missed out on some truly traumatizing nonsense by stopping at the start of this scene. It's a bit confusing exactly how she finds a place to have her hookup. It's a bordello, but like, I'm pretty sure that's not how bordellos work. But whatever, this isn't a film that's taking itself too seriously, or like seriously at all.
How old are you?
Last month I turned 1,042.
Well, as long as you're not jailbait.
It's got cartoon logic out the wazoo, so I'm willing to look past some narrative nonsense. Ginny and Matt hear about the murder and proceed to find and take down Doris, first by blasting off her head.
Who the hell is she?
Let's just say that she gave good head.
And then by crushing her in a garbage truck, leaving Rex and Karen as the lone alien terrorists.
I'll refuel the ship, then we can both get out of here. Now move it!
Once again, Matt manages to write and draw up some pages based on the event for Space Avenger. I have no idea how time works in this universe. By all logic, these events take place over the course of several months at least, but it seems to be just a few days. Anyway, cartoon logic. Moving forward. Karen turns herself into Matt and Ginny, presumably because her human side is winning out, I guess. She leads them to Rex, who's back at the construction site, and in one of the film's funniest moments, Rex blows up Karen with a grenade. It's glorious. Run it again. There is zero mention of all the other construction workers they murdered, by the way. This should be a crime scene, but logic once again fails to penetrate this film's not-so-subtle intentions. It is, okay, back it up. It is a little explained by Rex seemingly covering the bodies with dirt and saying that it should give them 6 months. I'm not sure where he's getting that from. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, after escaping, Rex finds yet another hastily published Space Avenger comic. He then lures Matt back to his office, which you'd think Matt or Ginny would have figured would happen based on the plan they enacted by writing said issue, but, you know, whatever, man. From there, a very silly chase ensues, leading to more squibbed-up pedestrians than you can shake a revolver at. They wind up fighting on some train tracks, and that's it for old Rex. Or so it seems. Somehow, because his arm is left over, he's able to regenerate, despite the alien itself seemingly being killed. We get one more fight, ending with this line.
Death.
Shakespeare was a pussy. But wait, there's still a leftover finger. So the alien gives back Ginny's body, our boy Matt finishes the latest arc of Space Avenger, and the end. That's it. That's Alien Space Avenger, or just Space Avenger, the film that stayed with me over all these years. Now, the big question, does it hold up? I'd say overall, yes. It's definitely a film I'd like to see get a proper Blu-ray release at some point, if only because the YouTube copy is the pits, and even through more nefarious means, all I could find was the original VHS rip.
Son of a bitch!
Beyond the physical quality, it's a fun, fast-paced little time waster that sure doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense, nor does its sense of humor always work.
Cheers.
It is, however, excessively violent despite its cartoonish sensibilities, making it a prime slice of schlock for a company like, say, Vinegar Syndrome to release in glorious HD. Director Richard W. Haines' involvement here really makes sense of the comedy stylings. He previously had directed the slasher comedy Splatter University and co-directed the original Class of Nukem High, which he also wrote and edited, though there is some controversy about his control over that project. He also edited the Toxic Avenger, amongst several other traumatic projects, so his trauma bona fides are readily apparent. It's also interesting to note that Space Avenger was printed using dye transfer Technicolor, a technology which became popularized in the 1930s and had stopped being marketed around 1975, with The Godfather Part 2 being one of the final films to utilize the technology, making it sort of a lost art. According to Haines, the necessary British Technicolor equipment had been sold off to the Beijing Film Lab, and so he wound up traveling to China to get the prints for the film made in this way. This makes it even more imperative that some company figures out the necessary details to get Space Avenger. I keep forgetting. Its actual title is Space Avenger. Anyway. It's important to get it onto disc. In the same interview that I found the Technicolor info, Haines does note that while the film would look great on Blu-ray, it can't happen for complex reasons, and that someday in the future it will be released in whatever format is available, like 4K. That at least gives me some hope that we'll see Alien Space Avenger given its proper due sooner rather than later.
Okay, I'll go with it. Let's not get too campy, though.
After writing up this whole video, I reached out to Richard Haines, and he actually got back to me with answers to my questions regarding Alien Space Avenger, which he just refers to as Space Avenger, its original title, which, lucky for little me, had the alien added for its video release. The film cost the most out of Haines' features at $400,000 and was produced over the course of 2 years. First, he shot the special effects and 1930s set scenes in 1986, then he used that footage to raise money for the rest, which was shot in 1987. You can see in these photos how delightful the effects really are. The two shoots used different crews, but the same cast. For the 87 shoot, Haines brought in two co-producers, Ray Sunderland and Robert A. Harris. Sunderland had produced Mother's Day, which Haines worked on as a sound editor, while Harris at the time was restoring Lawrence of Arabia. Nifty fun fact, the comic book publisher's office is the same one used for that restoration. The comic book illustrations, by the way, were done by noted underground comics artist Leslie Sternberg, who most notably worked for Mad Magazine. As far as the cast goes, Haines refers to them all as unknowns at the time. Angela Nicholas was a Penthouse Pet. Robert Prichard played Slug in the Toxic Avenger, which of course Haines edited.
Well, I gotta get up early in the morning. Gotta go to church.
While Jamie Gillis, easily the most famous of the cast, was hired as a gag. Haines had previously edited down hardcore movies to softcore for Trauma, and Jamie Gillis had been in at least one. Bing Bang Boom, you've got yourself one of the great B-movie cameos. The film premiered at the Paramount Movie Palace in Peekskill, New York, where the theater scenes in the movie had been shot. Another fun fact, Haines was so dedicated to his old-school sensibilities that he even had composer Richard Fiocca craft a 3-minute overture for the top of the film, which most theaters simply threw out in favor of starting the film with the opening text crawl. As far as the title goes, while Space Avenger is the proper title, the alien portion was apparently added in by David Winters for the VHS release as a way of, you guessed it, profiting off the success of the Alien franchise. You might remember Winters as the actor who played Arab in West Side Story, but his career is far more interesting than that one role. He went on to become a shockingly prolific schlock producer and distributor with credits like Future Force and Space Mutiny under his belt. He even directed the last horror film, the classic Joe Spinell slasher that takes place at the Cannes Film Festival. Per Mr. Haines, and as previously mentioned, the entire film was printed in dye transfer Technicolor in China in 1989. In addition to the original camera negatives stored in an archive, he has his own archival print, while the George Eastman House and Academy archives have 2 more. Unfortunately, these prints are too dark for a video transfer. While they're perfect when projected, video transfers require low contrast elements. This wasn't something I was aware of, but I'm gonna trust the guy who wrote a whole ass book about the Technicolor film process. Yes, he did that. He's a cool motherfucker. According to Mr. Haines, mastering movies has become incredibly expensive thanks to the current trend of scanning the camera negative and color correcting it one shot at a time. Whereas in the past, the filmmakers simply made a low contrast print or used the interpositive for transfers that were already timed out. Basically, there's just a shitload that goes into putting even the most low budget oddities onto Blu-ray.
I don't know if I'm ready for this.
What's more, most of the distributors require the filmmaker or studio provide their own master, hence a lot of the cost falling on the director in this case. The current plan for the film is for Haines to release his first and last movies, Splatter University and What Really Frightens You, on a double bill Blu-ray, which will then hopefully cover the cost of a 4K transfer from the Space Avenger negative. Whether or not this will actually come to fruition is anyone's guess, but Haines seems to be pretty confident in his plan to finally release it himself. And that's all I got. Hopefully we eventually get a proper HD copy of Space Avenger, because it's definitely a cult classic in the making. It just needs that little push that a boutique Blu-ray release could so easily provide. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Maybe leave a tasty little comment down below for me to snack on. In fact, I have a question for you, the viewer. What's a movie or TV series that you witnessed as a kiddo and which eluded you for decades? Or years. Let's go with years. Let's open up the prospects. Give me them sweet, sweet deets, because I'd love to hear about them. Anywho, thanks for watching, and until next time, guys, please go watch a movie.
Big teeth you have.
Better to eat you with.
Get back!
Hey, commando bit. It's kinky. I like that.
Listen, honey, this is my gig. Sorry.